OnlyFans should seriously consider changing its name to Only Profit. When founder Tim Stokely conceived OnlyFans, he had a totally different image in mind. Regardless, for the current image of OnlyFans, it's reckoning time. Welcome back to another episode with the Unspecialist. And this time around, we're going to be doing a follow-up to my previous video about the popular content sharing website OnlyFans. Last time around, I spoke about why most OnlyFans creators are still broke. And that was a combination of factors, particularly due to the fact that after the site burst into popularity, there was a rush of content creators, which ultimately resulted in a plateau, reducing the average or potential earnings for the majority of content creators. In essence, that created a glass ceiling, and the only way to break through that glass ceiling was to produce higher quality content, be kinkier, have better marketing, better networking, or come to the platform with some level of fame and celebrity, particularly from other popular content sharing or social media sites. Nevertheless, in the open market for online adult content, when things are pretty much normal, there is a minority of persons making the majority of the money. And speaking of money, the comparatively favorable revenue sharing arrangement is what made OnlyFans very popular in the first place. However, the website has its eyes set on a much bigger prize. After receiving a $1 billion valuation, it aims to hunt or seek investors in order to move away from porn. Now, the website is pretty much described as a place where amateur adult content creators rub shoulders with the likes of chefs, athletes, and other celebrities. And this much is true. Despite its current success being built on the nudes and the backs of the adult content creators, OnlyFans has its eyes on the mainstream, and in order to find the backers to get there, it may have to pivot or distance itself from the 18+ content, which is seen in a negative light by big name brands. Technically, the site already has one foot in the mainstream, with popular celebrities such as Cardi B and Floyd Mayweather already hosting accounts on the platform, not forgetting popular actress Bella Thorne as well. However, in order to capitalize on the major growth seen in categories like celebrities or athletes, the website is gonna have to make a major image change. The announced move has sparked lots and lots of speculation, with men in certain corners of the internet believing that it's somehow a thought-pocalypse and that the pivot away from online adult content is somehow gonna affect the income or earnings of all the adult content creators on the site. Unfortunately, common sense and critical thinking tell a different story. Most creators weren't making that much money to begin with, and those that have a profitable setup will continue to be profitable on other platforms that already exist or other platforms that may pop up to absorb market share in the event that OnlyFans completely drops adult content. So how did we even get here in the first place? Well, my assumption is that just like I observed in my previous video, the management team at OnlyFans observed that there was a plateau in what was initially their fastest growing segment in adult content creators. However, after that plateau and earnings essentially leveled off, they realized that if they really want to achieve the potential that their website has, there would be a need for them to make a shift into the mainstream and provide more vanilla or general content like you'd see on other platforms like Twitter, Facebook, or even Instagram. However, as previously established, it's going to be incredibly difficult to come out of the red silhouette and into the light like these other platforms if you're carrying the reputation of being a hub for homemade porn. As a result, I see one of three things happening. First, and most improbable, is that they find a way to keep the content creators and the adult content on the site in the same way as you'd see on other platforms like maybe Reddit or Twitter. However, this may not necessarily be as feasible given the fact that OnlyFans is a provider of content that is behind a paywall, and they are the content creators expecting to obviously make some money off of that. Then there's still the question of the content being a little too risky for major investors. As I said initially, this is the most improbable option. Second is that they find some middle ground and split the site, essentially quarantining the adult content to a separate segment or its own unique site for you to go to, and a separate site, maybe OnlyFans proper, just throwing a name out there, where persons can go to have that regular vanilla mainstream content. That way the company keeps the revenue and still manage to profit from whatever the new ideas are or the vanilla content. This too, however, in my opinion, is a bit unlikely. One, given the announcement and given the fact that they would want to distance themselves as much as possible from the 18 plus content if they really want a big slice of that mainstream money. Which brings me to the last and most likely outcome, which is to completely phase out or abruptly cut off adult content and send their adult content creators back out into the wild, wild west of online amateur adult content. To some, this may seem like OnlyFans dropping the $2 billion bird that led to 100% annual growth as reported by Bloomberg in exchange for an unknown amount of birds in the bushes. However, if you think about it, them dropping that $2 billion bird, which is pretty much tainted by the image of adult content, would indeed be a good move, as there's billions more to be had in the mainstream bushes of famous athletes and celebrities. Just look at the amount of money that's made on other sites that don't necessarily have the same model like OnlyFans. Think about it this way. Last year, OnlyFans stars brought in about $2 billion in revenue, and we can safely assume that the majority of those stars were adult content creators. And also, based on previous information, we can safely assume that the majority of those stars were more like indoor incandescent bulbs, not really making that much money. So imagine wiping the slate clean and replacing them with much more profitable athletes, celebrities, movie stars, or other internet famous people who'll bring in higher revenue on average and bring with them that poppy, bubblegum, vanilla, mainstream image that will allow OnlyFans to ink deals with all the big name brands. It's a win-win-win that makes those $2 billion suddenly seem too small and restrictive for the big ambitions that the company clearly has. As the founder himself said in an interview with GQ, he had the idea for the site when he saw that famous athletes and celebrities were posting content on other platforms and only making money through product endorsements and other sponsorships. He decided that, you know what, it would be good to start a site where they can earn money directly from the content that they post, whether personal or otherwise. And so OnlyFans was born. However, along the way, obviously it morphed into something else as we see today, which led to him being dubbed as the king of homemade porn, and the site, as I mentioned earlier, being dubbed a hub for homemade or amateur content. While the public doesn't yet have all the particulars for the change, one thing's for certain, and that's that the announced change by OnlyFans will indeed separate the shovels from the rakes and shake up the online adult content market in the short term. Regardless, the demand for adult content is unlikely to change, and wherever the landing spot for those content creators is, that's where the action will go, and the cycle will simply continue anew. Did I miss anything? Or do you have a differing opinion? Be sure to let me know down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content in the future. This is the Unspecialist saying, sex work may be real work, but it's definitely not going to work for OnlyFans.